Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. This week we'll be discussing the 1996 horror comedy classic, Scream, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Rose McGowan, Jamie Kennedy. The list goes on and on. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week in the B Movie Club we discuss certain guilty pleasures and forgotten classics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, pretty much whenever I feel like it. Go ahead and go to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to our page on YouTube. That's Kevin D. Just hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. You can reach me on Twitter at KD9575. You can tweet me your innermost thoughts and feelings. Don't forget to spread the word. Scream. In this movie, it opens basically to a woman, Casey. She's making popcorn. She's home alone. The phone starts to ring, and it's a voice she doesn't recognize. He starts talking to her about scary movies. One thing leads to another, and spoiler alert, Casey is brutally murdered along with her boyfriend. It's very sad. Now it cuts to young Sydney Prescott, who is I guess she's a senior at the local high school. Her and her friends are all very upset that their friend Casey's been murdered. Everybody seems to have a motive, though. You know what I'm saying? This being a horror movie, what you realize is that there are little clues that the filmmaker gives you. Could it be this person who's the killer? Could it be this person? We don't know. What we find out about Sydney is that her mother was murdered a year ago to the day that this other murder occurred. So there's some kind of checkered past going on. She's got an on-again, off-again thing with her boyfriend because Sydney was so distraught about her mother's death. Now she's kind of given her boyfriend Billy the cold shoulder. So there's that going on. Some other murders occur. Now there's a curfew. Meanwhile, Gale Weathers, who's an investigative journalist, kind of a TV personality, appears on the scene. She knows Sydney because she's kind of been the advocate for the man they arrested for her mother's murder, Cotton Weary. She basically feels that Cotton's innocent. It's a big frame-up. But she's also kind of a glory hound herself. She wants to be the first one to get the scoop, things like that. Her and Sydney kind of clash. Other people in this movie, you've got Sydney's friend Tatum. You've got her boyfriend Stu. I already talked about her boyfriend Billy. There's also Randy, who works at the local video store and has all of the theories about these scary movies. The movie culminates at a big party at Tatum's house. It's actually Stu's house. And everybody's there. And of course the killer shows up. The killer is wearing this spooky ghost mask and is dressed all in black and chases people around with a knife. One by one, the people start to die. I don't want to spoil everything. I don't want to give everything away because there's kind of a twist at the end. Again, I don't want to spoil it. Okay? I enjoyed this movie thoroughly. A lot of people feel that it rejuvenated horror movies at that time, which were kind of considered a dying breed. It got kind of formulaic. There's a guy walking around wearing a mask, killing people. Same old, same old. This movie, what was different is that they hired kind of up-and-coming young actors and a few actors who were firmly established. Drew Barrymore was cast to play, initially she was supposed to be Sydney. She actually convinced the producers to recast her in the role of Casey, who dies in the opening scene, because that would kind of let the audience know that anything could happen. Then they brought in Neve Campbell, who had been on Party of Five, which was a quasi-successful drama show at that time. Courtney Cox was, of course, on Friends. David Arquette had been in a few things. Rose McGowan had been in a few things. Jamie Kennedy, Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, one of the two. We're all kind of young actors that you'd seen in other things. Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich had actually been in a movie called The Craft a few years earlier. The producers liked Skeet because they felt like he had some Johnny Depp DNA, if you will. I mean, they were really pushing it. He had that kind of greasy Johnny Depp hair and kind of the forlorn kind of thing. And I kind of talk like this because I'm Johnny Depp's, clone or something. Rose McGowan played Tatum the friend. Matthew Lillard played Stu. Jamie Kennedy played Randy, who knows about all the movie stuff. The script was written by a guy named Kevin Williamson. He wrote it over 3 days in Palm Springs. Hey. And when he finished it, it caused kind of a bidding war. A lot of studios were trying to swoop in there and get it. Eventually, Dimension Films, which is owned by Miramax, they came in there as kind of their independent wing. They scooped it up. They hired Wes Craven, who was obviously a famous horror movie director, to direct it. He had done such hits as The Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes, and of course Nightmare on Elm Street. So there you go. He's got a pedigree. What's great about this movie is it also incorporates a lot of comedy, a lot of funny little things, people's reactions to things, a lot of the snappy banter. Really adds to the overall milieu, if you will. Also, it was meant to be kind of a send-up, not exactly a spoof because it had genuine horror elements, but to be very aware of the rules of surviving a horror movie. You can't have sex, you can't do drugs, you can't drink. Don't say I'll be right back because you won't. Don't say who's there because you're dead meat. Don't go investigate a strange noise. All the rules. And like the people who kind of broke the rules oftentimes bit the dust. So there's that. A lot of other casting choices that were made. At one point when Kevin Williamson was writing the script, he actually wanted Molly Ringwald to play the role of Sydney, and she passed. She's like, I'd rather not be playing a high school student at the tender age of 27, if you will. Reese Witherspoon was offered the role. At one point, Melissa Joan Hart, Brand Teenage Witch, she wanted the role. A lot of people were up for the roles. They tried to actually, if they didn't cast them for the main role, they tried to kick them a little something, a little cameo here and there. Just trying to help people out. This movie actually spawned 4 sequels, 2 that came right after it. It was originally meant to be a trilogy. Kevin Williamson wrote the outlines to the other 2 scripts, but at the same time he wrote the main Scream 1 script. And then a couple years ago, 2011, they released Scream 4, also using Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson. Kevin Williamson used the success of this to springboard. He wrote I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was also kind of a formulaic thing, using kind of similar elements. He went on to create Dawson's Creek. So there you go. It's got the whole Dawson's Creek thing going for you. It's another show known for its snappy banner. So much so that people were like, okay, teenagers in America don't really talk this way, but hey, that's okay. It's very snappy. Originally, the movie was supposed to be called Scary Movie, and at the 11th hour, the studio changed it to Scream. Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson both thought it was a horrible idea. Later, they changed their mind. Wes Craven, when he was going after this movie, they didn't know exactly how they wanted the killer to dress. Okay, they were scouting locations and they saw a Halloween mask of the ghost face with a black hood, and he loved it so much. But there were licensing issues, so he actually went to his costume department and said, "Hey, can you come up with something similar to this?" They tried and tried and tried and couldn't find one that matched it. So eventually he just bit the bullet and contacted the company that made the masks and got their permission. Kicked him a little lolly, and they agreed to let him do it. Again, the producers, the studio executives, I should say, hated the mask at first. They thought it was ridiculous. They thought it wouldn't work. Wes Craven actually kind of put his foot down. They eventually agreed, and it's perfect. It's bloody brilliant, if you will, if you forgive the pun. What else can I tell you about this movie? Other people who were offered roles or turned them down. Evidently, Janeane Garofalo was originally supposed to play Gale Weathers. She turned it down and went to Brooke Shields. Eventually, they settled on Courtney Cox. Joaquin Phoenix was originally supposed to be offered the role of Billy. He turned it down. David Arquette announced at one point that he was offered the role of Billy, and he actually turned it down in favor of Dewey, the deputy, which was originally supposed to be like kind of a manly man role, and he kind of changed it to kind of this nerdy, geeky kind of character, which I guess is more like him, perhaps. As we all know, Courtney Cox and David Arquette met while filming this movie and got together, got married. After Screen 4, however, they separated and got divorced. I don't know. It's very sad. So there you have it. At one point, there's a point in the movie where one of the characters says, I liked the first Nightmare on Elm Street, but all the sequels sucked. Wes Craven, like I said, directed the first one, did not direct any of the other ones. So there you go. Little subtle jab at those other ones, perhaps. This movie currently has an 80% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I said, I highly recommend it. I find it hilarious. I think it adds the comedy, which I like, and also has the serious, the drama, the suspense, the horror that I like to see as well. One thing that I find amusing is that if you know who the killers are, watch it again, and they really do lay it on thick who some of the killers are. I mean, some of the interactions with the killers, but of course you won't notice it if you're not sure about the killer, because throughout the movie, Randy says there's always a BS reason to kill somebody in these movies, so don't look for a motive. You know what I mean? And they really tried to kind of point the finger at all of the actors at one point or another. Like, everybody's a suspect, one of those deals. So I recommend it. Rush out and see it. It is still streaming instantly on Netflix, so go ahead. I even like the sequels, frankly. If you're into that, check those out as well. So there you have it. Next week, I'm going to be going to a totally different genre. You all know that I'm a big fan of the 70s trucker lifestyle, the CB radio lifestyle, if you will. We're going to be doing the 1978 action classic, Convoy, starring Chris Christopherson and Ali MacGraw. It's an all-star cast. Hopefully and likely, my sister Erin will be rejoining us. She's a big fan favorite. So we're going to talk about Convoy. It is still streaming instantly on Netflix, so rush out and see it. Send me your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, questions, anything else you want to get off your chest. Again, like me on Facebook. Give me a big thumbs up. Original B Movie Club. Subscribe to our page on YouTube. And if you want to tweet me, I'm at KD9575. And don't forget to spread the word. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And here it is. Now that Billy tried to mutilate her, do you think Sid will go out with me? There it is. Thank you for joining us. Next week, that immortal classic, Convoy. Be well.